We're going to go out to Seattle right now and be joined by MLB.com's Brittany Ghiroli, who covers the Orioles on a daily basis. And Brittany, tell us a little about what this story is going on about a possible change in the Orioles starting rotation.
Well, Tom, they've had, I know this is going to surprise you, they've had a little bit of uncertainty in that starting rotation. Manager Buck Showalter was very cryptic yesterday. He said Miguel Gonzalez might not even make the start today. Obviously, Gonzalez is here. He's going to start the game. The thinking was perhaps using lefty TJ McFarland, who pitched after Bud Norris yesterday, because Seattle has such a left-handed hitting dominant lineup. Now, McFarland hasn't been particularly good against lefties. It was just kind of a thought Buck kind of threw out there, but they're not going to go that way. What they are going to do next week is they're going to push Wei-Yin Chen back an extra day, keep Bud Norris and Kevin Gausman on regular rest, have the two of them both pitch in Anaheim. Norris has been absolutely outstanding against the Angels, so he will face them at home for that first series coming out of that homestand. Chen will get the extra day's rest. He's coming off of a very long, I think a season high in pitches, so they feel like it's kind of a twofold benefit for them. Norris gets to face the Angels, so they get the good matchup. Chen gets another day's rest, where he's traditionally fared much better. Again, a lefty against that Mariners lineup, which comes to town next week.
Obviously, Buck is a master at maneuvering pitching around, but let's talk a little bit about Zach Britton. He's got 19 saves, but many times he wouldn't have gotten into the games except for the great performances by some of the other relievers before he got a chance to pitch. Let's talk a little about some of those pitchers that have done well in front of Zach Britton.
Yeah, Tom, it's interesting. Darren O'Day likes to call the middle relievers kind of like the middle linebackers in football. He said you never hear anything about them unless they blow the game, which is true to some extent. But Darren O'Day has been simply phenomenal. Leads the American League with a 1.00 ERA, hasn't allowed a run in his last 15 outings. He's only had one walk that was unintentional over that stretch. He's been absolutely dominant for them. Of course, they've gotten big outs. TJ McFarland yesterday was a good example of that. Brad Brock as well. And I asked manager Buck Showalter before the game about some of these guys, and he said that's really the key to being able to pull out these close games. It's not just your closer, it's how you get there in the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th inning. And the Orioles have been outstanding doing the job.
So many times a save could be actually given out in the middle of the game there after the starter goes and the middle relievers come in before the actual closer comes in. But, Brittany, how about this road trip right now? The Orioles got a chance to go 6-4. Sum up what you've seen basically so far during this 9-game period.
Well, I think, Tom, it's fair to say they're playing some of their best baseball right now. I've asked a bunch of the guys in there, talked to Buck about it, and really that rotation has gotten on a roll and hasn't slowed up. They've been very consistent. They've averaged about 6 innings per start on this 3-city road trip. A very tough road trip because keep in mind, ending the first half, all 3 of these clubs had a better record than the Orioles. Oakland, Anaheim, and Seattle. And the Orioles have played exceptionally well. What's the most surprising to me is they haven't had a losing road trip all season. And when you talk about consistency and about clubs that get to the postseason, they fare well on the road. The Orioles have played exceptional on the road. To not have one losing road trip, to me, just shows how much discipline they have. They've had an unusual travel schedule. They've had something like 19 different travel delays this year, and still they've been able to come in and get the job done. Of course, I brought this up to Buck before the game, and he said, if we lose our next road trip, we're leaving you in Canada. So here's hoping that doesn't happen, Tom.
Brittany, one final thing. Why have the starters somewhat together as a group gotten so much better than they were earlier in the season?
I think it's kind of a bunch of different reasons. One, I think they're starting to have confidence in one another. I think when they go out there and they see the guy before them go 6 or 7 innings, they say, I can do that too. I want to kind of one-up that guy. And they're a very close-knit team. They've gone and they watch each other's bullpens. It's something they started a few months back. So they're very close in that regard. They want each other to succeed, but they also want to beat the guy who went before them. So that's certainly helped them. Also, I think new pitching coach Dave Wallace deserves a lot of the credit. He's really been working with a lot of these guys since spring training. You're starting to see some of the improvements that he's made in this still very young pitching staff. Wallace will leave the team Friday and Saturday. He's going to attend his daughter's wedding. They're going to have Scotty McGregor come up, and Dom Cheaty's going to stay in that bullpen. But I think adding those 2 guys to the staff really speaks volumes as to how this pitching staff has been able to step it up at really an integral time for this club.
Well, Brittany, as always, we appreciate the information. Look forward to seeing you when you get back to Baltimore. Brittany Ghiroli.